Have you ever noticed how some of the brightest people you know, individuals with high IQs, advanced degrees, years of experience, suddenly make completely irrational choices when they're in a group? How renowned doctors follow questionable protocols without questioning, how intelligent executives approve clearly destructive decisions in meetings, how brilliant academics repeat obvious narratives without investigating. This isn't coincidence. This isn't stupidity. This is something far more sinister. And today I'm going to show you exactly the psychological mechanism that transforms geniuses into puppets, and more importantly, how you can protect yourself from becoming just another thinking robot in a world of collective minds. You probably consider yourself a rational person, someone who thinks for themselves, who analyzes before deciding, who doesn't follow the herd blindly. But here's a truth that perhaps no one has told you with this clarity. Your individual intelligence doesn't protect you from collective stupidity. In fact, it might make you even more vulnerable. And why? Because intelligent people believe they're immune to manipulation. They think their education, their logic, their knowledge are shields against social influence. But this excessive confidence in one's own rationality is exactly the gateway to group mental control. In 1951, Solomon Asch conducted an experiment that should deeply disturb you. He gathered groups of people and showed lines of obviously different sizes, asking them to identify which line corresponded to the size of a reference line. The answer was obvious, unequivocal, mathematically clear. But here's what Asch discovered. When instructed actors deliberately gave wrong answers, 75% of real participants changed their correct answers to conform with the group. Intelligent people with perfectly functioning eyes denied the evidence of their own senses to avoid being different. They knew they were wrong. They saw the difference, but they chose collective lies instead of individual truth. But that was just the beginning, because Asch discovered something even more disturbing. The more intelligent the participant, the more elaborate the rationalizations they created to justify their incorrect answers. They didn't just conform, they convinced themselves that conformity was logical. They created complex theories, sought sophisticated explanations, used their intelligence to justify their submission. And this is exactly what's happening to you right now in real time, in every group you're part of. Think about the last work meeting you attended. How many times did you mentally disagree with a decision but said nothing? How many times did you feel something was wrong but assumed others knew better? How many times did you modify your opinion, not because new facts appeared, but because you realized your position was minority? This isn't diplomacy. This isn't collaboration. This is intellectual capitulation. And it's happening because your mind is being hijacked by what psychologists call conformity pressure. Carl Jung understood this better than anyone. He said the greatest threat to individuation, to the process of becoming who you really are, isn't your enemies. It's the collective. It's the subtle but constant pressure to think like everyone thinks, feel like everyone feels, react like everyone reacts. And Jung was clear about one thing. The more intelligent you are, the more sophisticated the ways you find to betray yourself. You don't just follow the crowd. You find brilliant reasons to follow the crowd. The truth is that groups don't think. Groups react. And when you're in a group, your individual intelligence dissolves into collective stupidity. This happens because your brain has two operating systems: the individual system, which analyzes, questions, doubts, investigates, and the tribal system, which seeks acceptance, avoids conflict, prioritizes social harmony. The problem is that in group situations, the tribal system hijacks the individual system, and you don't even notice that you stopped thinking and started just echoing. You want proof of this? Observe your own opinions on controversial subjects. How often have they changed after you discovered what your social group's position was? How often have you modified not the facts you believe, but the importance you give to those facts? How often have you caught yourself defending positions that contradict your personal experiences just because those positions are socially accepted in your circle? This is what happens when brilliant minds enter group mode. They stop processing information and start processing social approval. They stop seeking truth and start seeking belonging. And the cruelest part is they do this using all their intelligence to rationalize this intellectual betrayal. They create sophisticated arguments to justify conclusions they never investigated. They use their analytical capacity to defend positions they never truly analyzed. Gustave Le Bon observed this over 100 years ago. He said that in groups, even the most educated individuals descend to the intellectual level of the most primitive member. It's not that they become less intelligent, it's that they apply their intelligence differently. Instead of using it to discover inconvenient truths, they use it to build comfortable consensus. Instead of thinking critically, they think collectively. And when you think collectively, you stop thinking. But here's what's even more disturbing. This process doesn't just happen in obvious groups, like crowds or cults. It happens in any context where you feel part of something bigger than yourself. In your company, in your college, in your family, in your friend group, in your social networks. Every moment you identify as a member of a group, part of your capacity for independent thought is outsourced to group consensus. And you don't even notice because this process is invisible. You don't feel your intelligence being turned off. You feel it being redirected. Instead of questioning the group's premises, you question your own doubts. Instead of investigating whether the group is right, you investigate whether your objections are valid. Your brilliant mind doesn't stop functioning. It's co-opted to serve conformity instead of truth. So how do you break this pattern? How do you protect your intelligence from group corruption? First, you need to accept an uncomfortable truth. You are not immune. Your education doesn't protect you. Your IQ doesn't save you. Your experience doesn't shield you. If you participate in groups, and we all do, you're being influenced in ways you don't perceive. The first defense against manipulation is admitting you're manipulable. Second, you need to develop what Jung called the doubt function. Before adopting any position that's consensual in your group, pause. Ask yourself, would I reach this conclusion if I were completely alone, with access only to facts without knowing what the majority opinion is? If the answer is uncertain, you need to investigate more. Because you might not be thinking, you might just be echoing. And finally, you need to cultivate the courage of intellectual solitude, because discovering inconvenient truths is lonely. Questioning consensus is isolating. Thinking independently is alienating. And most people prefer to be wrong in a group than right alone. But if you truly value your intelligence, if you truly believe in the power of critical thinking, then you need to be willing to think thoughts that no one else is thinking. Even if it means being misunderstood, even if it means being rejected, even if it means being alone. Now tell me in the comments, do you have the courage to admit an opinion you changed just to fit into your group? A belief you abandoned not because the facts changed, but because you realized it would isolate you socially. If this video made you question your own convictions, if it made you look at your thoughts differently, write in the comments, "I think alone." Let's see how many here are ready for this liberating solitude. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like, because the next video will show how your own family programs your thoughts from childhood. It's more disturbing than you imagine.